Imagine throwing the most magnificent party in history, a night so dazzling, so extravagant, that it inspires the Palace of Versailles itself. Now imagine waking up the next morning, arrested by the king's own musketeers. This is the tragic downfall of Nicolas Fouquet, the man who outshined the Sun King. It was 1661. France was glittering with power, art, and ambition. And at the heart of it all stood one man, Nicolas Fouquet, the brilliant, charming, and dangerously wealthy finance minister of King Louis XIV. Fouquet wasn't just powerful. He was France's money. He loved poetry, fine art, beautiful women, and above all, luxury. Gold flowed through his fingers like water, and he spent it just as fast. When the Prime Minister, Jules Mazarin, died, everyone, including Fouquet himself, believed he would be the next great power beside the throne. But Louis XIV had other plans. At only 23, the young king decided he needed no prime minister. He would rule alone. And suddenly, Fouquet felt the ground shift beneath his feet. He saw the signs, whispered conversations, cold glances from the royal court. He knew he was falling out of favor. So to win back the king's heart, he did the one thing he knew best. He decided to dazzle him. Fouquet poured his fortune and his soul into a single night. The occasion? The grand unveiling of his masterpiece, Chateau de Vaux-le-Vicomte. But in truth, it wasn't a celebration of a house. It was a performance of power, a tribute to the king himself. And what a show it was. Every noble poet and thinker of the age was there. La Fontaine, La Rochefoucauld, Madame de Sévigné. Even Molière, France's greatest playwright, wrote and performed a comedy that very night, dedicated to Louis XIV. Guests feasted on a 7-course dinner, dishes from the Orient, spices never before tasted in France, and new recipes created just for the occasion. Music echoed through the halls, written specifically to honor the king. And when the meal ended, Fouquet personally escorted Louis XIV into the moonlit gardens, an ocean of symmetry and splendor that would later inspire Versailles itself. Fountains danced, canals shimmered, and the sky exploded in fireworks. It was pure magic, a masterpiece of art, architecture, and ambition. Everyone agreed it was the most magnificent night France had ever seen. But for the king, it was unforgivable. Louis XIV, the self-proclaimed Sun King, had been outshone. Fouquet's brilliance made him feel small. And the very next morning, the man who had just entertained a nation was seized by the king's head musketeer, D'Artagnan himself. 3 months later, Fouquet stood trial for embezzlement, accused of stealing from the royal treasury. The truth? Most of the money he'd stolen had been spent at the king's own request. But justice was never the point. Louis XIV wanted revenge. Fouquet was sentenced to life in a remote fortress high in the Pyrenees, locked away in solitude for 20 years, from the highest halls of power to a cold stone cell, all because one man dared to shine brighter than the king. And as Louis XIV began building Versailles, brick by golden brick, he made sure everyone remembered, in France there was room for only one son. And so, the greatest party in France's history became the moment one man lost everything. The rise and fall of Nicolas Fouquet, a story of brilliance, betrayal, and the deadly beauty of ambition. Vaux-le-Vicomte became the blueprint for Versailles, but it also became the tomb of its creator's dreams. A reminder that power admires talent, yet fears greatness. Fouquet's fall reminds us, in the pursuit of glory, never forget who stands in your shadow. For envy in the heart of a king burns brighter than any firework.